Ukraine's enemies were expecting this winter to be the same as the last one. Slow, exhausted, ammunition running low, Western support divided. But that is not what is happening. Because right now, behind closed NATO doors and across dozens of defense ministries, something different is taking shape. A coordinated winter surge, built quietly over the second half of 2024 and 2025, is preparing Ukraine for what analysts describe as a potentially stronger battlefield position in 2026. And according to Western officials, the Kremlin did not anticipate this shift. This is not guesswork. It is based on open statements from European defense ministers, US congressional allocations, new production announcements, and public NATO briefings from late 2024 and 2025. When you look at these public data points together, a clearer picture emerges. Ukraine is no longer being drip-fed equipment. It is being positioned, according to NATO officials, for long-term industrial-scale support, the kind of assistance Russia reportedly hoped would not materialize. The first major shift appeared in NATO's 2024 to 2025 industrial coordination reports, where alliance officials confirmed that European ammunition production had more than doubled since early 2023. Germany, the Czech Republic, France, Poland, and the UK all announced new lines for 155mm shells, artillery components, and drone parts. According to Czech and EU procurement officials speaking publicly across 2024 and 2025, Europe's combined artillery output is expected to exceed 2 million shells annually by 2026. That scale is intended not just to sustain Ukraine, but to help restore its battlefield firepower. At the same time, the United States, despite political delays, authorized multi-billion-dollar Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative packages. U.S. defense officials said in open congressional hearings that these funds are structured for long-term procurement, rebuilding Ukraine's air defense umbrella, and helping shift more brigades toward NATO standard equipment that can be sustained over years rather than months. Signs of this shift are already visible. Through 2024 and 2025, Ukraine fielded larger numbers of ground-launched small-diameter bombs, Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles, limited numbers of German Taurus-class systems, and upgraded Patriot and Iris-T batteries, all confirmed by official government statements. None of this was part of early war expectations. All of it aligns with what Western officials have described as a long-term support framework. But the biggest change is not a single weapon. It is the network NATO is building around Ukraine. A network that connects industrial production, air defense, long-range strike, drone warfare, real-time intelligence sharing, and hardened logistics. A network Russia reportedly did not expect to face in 2026, because for 2 years it believed the West would slow down or fracture. Instead, Ukraine is receiving what analysts describe as a 2026 war machine, shaped by 3 years of adaptation, massive industrial ramp-ups, Scandinavian rearmament, Polish logistics expansion, and increased intelligence coordination. Seen together, the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. This is NATO's winter surge, and according to Western defense analysts, it is reshaping Ukraine's arsenal for the year ahead. If Russia has misunderstood anything repeatedly, analysts say it is NATO's speed. Europe is often slow to agree, but once it moves, it can scale. Through 2024 and 2025, Europe quietly activated defense industries at a pace not seen in decades. Germany was one of the clearest examples. Rheinmetall publicly confirmed new facilities for 155mm shell cases, explosives, and propellant in Germany, Spain, Lithuania, and Hungary. Its CEO stated that annual artillery output was on track to reach around 700,000 shells per year by 2025 to 2026, a figure repeated in German parliamentary testimony. Analysts point out that this is one of Europe's largest ammunition expansions since the Cold War. The Czech Republic added another critical piece. Acting as coordinator for a multinational ammunition initiative, Prague publicly confirmed hundreds of thousands of shells purchased from global suppliers, while also expanding European production. NATO's Secretary General publicly praised this effort in 2024 and 2025. France contributed further capacity. Nexter announced new lines for 155mm shells and Caesar components, with EU officials describing French output as an essential part of Europe's long-term ammunition strategy. Poland went even further. Through 2024 and 2025, Warsaw announced new lines for Crab howitzers, K2 tank components, and missile integration, with government statements positioning Poland as a future defense manufacturing hub for Europe. Put together, these developments support the projection, based on European Commission and Defense Ministry statements, that Europe's annual output of 155mm shells may exceed 2 million rounds by 2026. Before the war, Europe produced only a small fraction of that. This industrial expansion underpins NATO's winter surge. Wars are not determined by speeches, but by sustained production, logistics, and firepower. And by 2026, Ukraine is expected to receive artillery support at a scale Russia reportedly did not anticipate. Drone production is undergoing a similar transformation. Norway announced expanded procurement of reconnaissance drones. Latvia and Estonia launched joint drone programs for mass production, and Ukrainian officials confirmed cooperation with Baltic partners on unified drone standards. The UK added momentum by announcing, in 2024, an industrial partnership to produce thousands of FPV drones per month for Ukraine. By 2025, British defense officials confirmed financing for drone factories inside Ukraine, a shift toward localized production rather than reliance on foreign shipments. Scandinavia is also expanding its role. Denmark, Sweden, and Norway raised defense budgets to record levels, with Sweden committing billions to artillery, air defense, and precision weapons, all documented in public budgets and ministerial statements. Each factory and procurement deal may look modest alone, but together they form what NATO officials describe as a transition from emergency aid to industrial-scale support. This is the aspect Western analysts say Russia underestimated. Europe reactivated its defense industry and integrated Ukraine into it. Poland's role has grown even more decisive because behind nearly every NATO shipment to Ukraine lies the same route through Polish territory. Before 2022, Poland was modernizing, but was not NATO's logistics center. Today, according to public statements from the Polish Ministry of Defense and NATO officials, Poland handles the majority of overland military shipments to Ukraine. Ammunition, armor, medical supplies, fuel, repair equipment, and high-value systems. Infrastructure explains much of this transformation. Between 2023 and 2025, Poland invested heavily in strategic transport corridors, rail, highways, and border terminals designed for military throughput. Polish rail operator PKP publicly confirmed expanded capacity on east-west routes, and the Ministry of Infrastructure announced upgrades connecting the port of Gdansk to the Ukrainian border. Without this backbone, NATO's winter surge could not reach Ukraine. Poland is the artery linking European industry to the front. Poland is also building one of Europe's largest militaries, with procurement plans published in 2023 to 2025 showing major investments in tanks, howitzers, fighters, drones, and air defense. NATO has publicly praised Poland's spending levels. For Ukraine, this matters because Poland is not only receiving equipment, it is maintaining Ukraine's equipment. In 2024, Ukrainian and Polish officials announced a joint service hub for repairing Leopard 2 tanks, later joined by Germany. By 2025, additional hubs were operating for Crab howitzers, armored vehicles, and drone systems. Poland also hosts multinational training. The EU Military Assistance Mission trains tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers on Polish soil, documented in official EU briefings. Politically, Poland accelerates European decisions. Throughout 2024 and 2025, Polish leaders pressed Europe to move from aid packages to production partnerships, influencing several major industrial expansions. Analysts argue that NATO's surge would not function without Poland, and Ukraine's sustainment would be far harder without the infrastructure Poland provides. Behind this logistical network lies another strategic shift: the rearmament of Europe's eastern flank. The Baltic states, Finland, and Romania are aligning infrastructure and procurement with Poland, creating a belt of NATO-anchored states from the Arctic to the Black Sea. One of the most significant 2026 developments, according to NATO briefings, is that Ukraine's airspace is becoming one of the most defended in Europe, not due to any single system, but a layered architecture built over 2 years. 3 systems anchor this shield: Patriot, supplied by the US, Germany, and the Netherlands between 2023 and 2025, has demonstrated, according to US and Ukrainian officials, the ability to intercept Kinjal-class missiles under combat conditions. NASAMS, supplied by Norway and the US, received additional batteries in 2025. Multiple European defense ministers have described NASAMS as a backbone component of Ukraine's medium-range defense. IRIS-T SLM, produced by Germany, has shown very high success rates according to statements from German and Ukrainian officials. Germany accelerated deliveries through 2024 and 2025. Together, these systems create a layered, NATO-integrated air defense environment that Russia has reportedly not faced before at this scale near its own territory. Ukraine's strike capabilities are evolving as well. France confirmed continued scalp transfers. Britain expanded Storm Shadow availability through repair and return agreements. Poland and Baltic states committed more shells via EU procurement channels. And the Czech initiative delivered hundreds of thousands of rounds purchased on global markets. All of this is documented publicly. Ukraine's long-range drone capability is expanding rapidly too. Open-source reporting shows drones hitting fuel depots, airfields, and logistics nodes deep inside Russia. Analysts from RUSI and the Atlantic Council assess that long-range drone warfare will remain a defining feature of the conflict in 2026. Crucially, NATO officials emphasized repeatedly in 2024 and 2025 that support must shift from ad hoc packages to multi-year contracts. Germany, Poland, France, the UK, and the Nordics have already begun aligning procurement with that strategy. Ukraine's 2026 arsenal is expected to be defined not by headline weapons, but by reliability, steady stockpiles, continuous training pipelines, and interceptor production insulated from political cycles. This is the system Western analysts say Russia did not expect. Western artillery production is also catching up. NATO officials and European ministers stated publicly through 2024 and 2025 that the ammunition gap with Russia is narrowing. The EU's Joint Ammunition Initiative stabilized in late 2024, and by early 2025, Czech, Polish, and Scandinavian officials confirmed that hundreds of thousands of EU and globally sourced shells had reached Ukraine. U.S. long-term artillery contracts restarted in 2024 as well. American factories increased 155mm output month after month, as confirmed in Pentagon briefings. This improved volume affects battlefield strategy. Analysts at RUSI note that sustained artillery availability is one of the strongest predictors of Ukrainian battlefield effectiveness. Long-range precision systems strengthen this shift. The U.S. confirmed new ATACMS deliveries in 2024 to 2025, which Ukraine used, according to Pentagon and Ukrainian statements, to strike airfields and command posts far behind Russian lines. Britain and France continued supplying Storm Shadow and SCALP in smaller but meaningful numbers. Ukraine's domestic drone program grew steadily with repeated strikes on Russian logistics and infrastructure. Each strike forces Russia to disperse assets and widen its air defense coverage, something highlighted in UK defense intelligence updates and NATO assessments. NATO training programs across Europe became even more important in 2025. The UK expanded programs to include armored maneuver, urban combat, drone integration, and combined arms. Germany became a major training hub for air defense and NATO standard armor. The US continued combined arms training at Grafenwöhr and Hohenfels. These details are confirmed in official briefings. These programs are building Ukrainian brigades around Western tactics and equipment. Analysts describe them as more survivable, more integrated, and more capable of coordinated operations than earlier formations. Drone integration training, now formally embedded in NATO courses, enhances one of Ukraine's most successful asymmetric strengths. Analysts from RUSI and the Atlantic Council repeatedly highlight this. Ukraine is also modernizing command and control, with officials publicly discussing reforms and Western partners advising on digital integration that links reconnaissance, artillery, and drones. All of these developments point toward a Ukrainian force designed for more effective operations in 2026, not merely static defense. So what can Russia do to counter this? Russia has already adapted in several ways, increasing ammunition output, expanding drone production, and shifting to a more wartime economy. These adaptations are documented in Western intelligence assessments and Russian government statistics. But analysts consistently highlight structural constraints. Industrial constraints remain. Russia has increased production, but sanctions analysis shows reliance on foreign electronics, machine tools, and components, often sourced indirectly through third countries. This dependence raises costs, delays, and uncertainties. Manpower remains a challenge. Analysts from ISW and UK Defense Intelligence note that while Russia can mobilize more troops, training cycles and equipment levels remain uneven. Mobilizing more troops does not automatically produce effective combined arms units. Russia's heavy reliance on glide bombs has been a major adaptation. They are difficult to intercept and highly destructive, but they require aircraft to fly within certain ranges. As Ukraine fields F-16s and gains more interceptors, analysts expect glide bomb tactics may become riskier for Russian pilots. Geography is a limitation as well. Russia controls large territory, but depth does not guarantee safety. Ukrainian long-range strikes with ATACMS, Storm Shadow, Scalp, and domestically produced drones have repeatedly hit airfields and logistics nodes deep behind Russian lines. Each strike forces Russia to disperse resources over larger areas. Strategically, Russia faces the challenge of timing. For 2 years, Moscow expected Western support to weaken. Western leaders have said publicly that this assumption influenced Russian decisions. But instead, NATO countries have launched multi-year commitments and industrial partnerships aimed specifically at long-term support. Analysts caution that Russia still has options: deeper alignment with Iran and North Korea, further mobilization, expanded drone production, but none of these options fully remove the constraints Russia faces. Ukraine's endurance is now increasingly backed by NATO's. That is what analysts say makes 2026 different. Not because Russia collapses, but because Ukraine becomes harder to defeat. More artillery, more air defense, more precision strike, more electronic warfare, a modern fighter fleet, a deeper industrial pipeline feeding equipment directly into Ukrainian factories. In this environment, Russia leans on mass. Ukraine leans on precision and resilience. One side tries to overwhelm, the other tries to out-adapt. This dynamic has existed since 2022, but many researchers expect it to become more visible in 2026. The war is expected to shift further toward long-term pressure, attrition, and positioning. Ukraine's goal will be to deny Russia the conditions for large-scale offensives. Russia's goal will be to strain Ukraine's resources faster than NATO can replenish them. Whether Ukraine's 2026 arsenal significantly shifts the battlefield remains uncertain. But analysts broadly agree that 2026 will be defined by capabilities neither side possessed earlier in the war. And that makes 2026 a potential turning point, not for dramatic offensives, but for depth. A year where the work of factories, logistics hubs, training centers, and industrial policy becomes as decisive as tanks and trenches. This analysis is based entirely on publicly available information and open source reporting. It does not rely on or reveal classified material, and it is intended for educational and informational purposes, not to glorify conflict or predict outcomes.